And we're in Levita School.
Oh yeah, that's their movie theater. They thought of that.
This is something that we hold pride in, is letting the children really experiment by doing, cooking, making their own projects. If a muffin doesn't turn out, it's because they've made it. If it works well, then they know that they have followed the recipe quite well, just by simply using their spoons and achieving a half a cup, or 1 full cup, or 1 teaspoon, understanding what those numbers mean,
Should we get another bowl so you can do it?
or what they don't mean.
It's interesting how you have
Come over here and stand next to it.
the labels, the
Now, feel that.
outline of the
See how that
labels
is,
for the
'cause that's what you're gonna
for the
end up
different measurements
Feel how
that
it
they
is.
use.
Tracing the tools have always helped them understand that this is something that needs to go right here, so if there's a 1 next to it, then that must mean I need 1 of those particular size spoons.
Use your hands.
Visuals help.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Did the children trace those out onto the table?
Yes.
Okay, get your hands in there. Now, Derek, are you making sure that they're all the way full?
I've seen dough being made in many, many schools.
Ingredients work.
This was one of the few times where I've seen it made individually. And I think that that is a plus.
Not gonna make
As you
it work.
said, each child creates his own masterpiece.
Absolutely. It's important that when we have the opportunity to do small groups, that we take those advantages and make them work for the children.
You can make it the way that you.
It's gooey? What do you mean by gooey? It's really squishy. Does it feel like this one?
Ben, why don't you put that in your cubby?
Does it feel like this one?
We keep all of our gooey and sticky projects close to the sink, so it won't be an issue of, you know, spreading it all over the classroom. Having a sink next is close.
Oh, mine is really good.
It's really
How can you tell?
Because I put the plate of system and
And now we move from the
in here.
project of making dough to a child using a balance scale.
So do you know it's more because one's kind of touching the table, or because one's way up in the sky?
It's because this is a measure thing, and whichever one goes down is the heaviest.
Yeah, to make it not so squishy.
So is there more on that side?
No.
You don't know? Why don't you guess?
No, not. Wait. Mine is
So if I were to take some
I
out,
only was able to include a small portion of this activity. When we talk about children with short attention span, I think it's only a short attention span for adult-imposed activities, because when they are intellectually engaged in something, they really stay with it. And I think this really proved it.
Water or the flour?
It's interesting how the little girl took the beans out of the container, put some in her hand, and then put it into the other side of the container too to see if that would get it into balance.
their salad.
Almost needing to use her hands, because that's more sensorial. This is real.
We said they use the 5 senses, and they really do.
don't have any on these. Try it.
Well, you can. That's your choice.
Started out, it was just her. And you can see
Now, which
as
side
she's
is more?
balancing, more and more children are drawn over to the table, fascinated by trying to get it balanced. Did they ever balance it?
Yes, they did.
Did the little girl do it on her
Beth
own,
has
or
her
was it a
It
group?
was a group effort.
You can do it your way.
Many beans
Everybody has
spilled
their
all
own
over
way
the
of doing
floor.
it.
And after they had picked them up from the floor is when they finally figured out there were simply too many beans to work with.
And now, this is another activity which is so popular in every classroom I've ever visited, and that's water play. And I wonder if teachers really understand the mathematical learning of the children. You were telling us, Levita, about
Understanding,
cups that you use.
yes, children oftentimes explore with water, but when they have a variety of cups and just different beakers and funnels to work with, they understand that the size of the cups may be different, but there's the same amount in this one jar. And how they discover that is through just doing it over and over, and having conversations with each other, exploring the differences.
And who gave me their second? Ryan or
This particular child spends a great deal of time at the water table filling up the same ketchup bottle. And one day she came in and there was an apple juice bottle and it was the same 32 ounce. But but she could not figure out, because of the different size, why it seemed so much bigger. She called a few other children over to, you do this, and you pour it out and see if it's the same amount. And she was so surprised at the results.
So before, this also could be science as well as
Absolutely.
mathematical measurement.
I recall one time with the experience in the water table that I had a couple of children working, and they had 2 containers, and one was a little, like you said, a different shape, but they just couldn't believe that the same amount of water went into that container as came out of the other container.
You know, it's interesting. We try to put several jars and bottles in our water table, and it's also a comparative thing. A child will fill up one bottle and then pour the contents of that bottle into another bottle and see, what level it was full in this bottle, but now this bottle is only 3/4 of the way full. Mm-hmm. Maybe if I add this smaller bottle to this third bottle, oh, now it's full, or oh, now it's overflowing.
It's very interesting to catch those moments of, wow, I figured this out.
Mm-hmm.
We talk about formal and informal measurement. We've seen children using scales and measuring cups. We will see them using rulers in just a bit. But informal measurement, they can use anything. They can use a string or a foot or a hand to measure things. And I think the example that you gave would be an example of, informal measurement using the different size containers, or even the same containers with different shapes that are the same size.
Okay, let's go over, see how tall you are.
My mustache.
Ben, why don't you measure her? Want to see how high her head is? It's right there. Okay.
This has been one of the favorites in the classroom, to actually watch the sizes change as time progresses. And from this one concept, many others came out. The difference in children in the springtime, what happens when it's summer, how tall they've grown, what the time means for children. Also plays a role in early childhood.
Yeah, I was
settings.
wondering how old these children are in this video.
In this particular setting, the children in here are 3.5 to 6 years old. Although on this day, I don't believe there was a 6-year-old present, there was a 5-year-old. So it went from 3.5 to 5 years old.
Do you ever have problems with this? Because I know in my classroom with 4-year-olds, we do this, and we wound up having to take it down because the kids got really competitive with sizes and would go and measure each other every single day. It was, how tall are you today? Oh, I'm taller than you today.
At this point, we haven't had any problems because it's more of a family environment. Most of these children have been infants together all the way up to the age that they are now.
Should we go see? Okay, let's go get Ben. Ben, we had a question for you. On the chart, your name was higher than Beth's name. So Beth thinks that if you stood back to back, your head would be higher than hers. Want to try it? Should we try it? Okay, try it and see. Ryan, whose head is higher?
I think Ben's.
Ben's head is higher. Beth comes to right there, so whose head is higher? Ben's is, and you were right, Beth. Your prediction was right. He's a little bit shorter than you. Is he a little bit shorter than you? No, what is he? A little bit taller than you.
Do you see a difference with the children's ages in terms of their understanding the concept of measuring?
Absolutely,
against the wall?
absolutely. Because when we set up activities, we have to allow for the different ages. We have to look at the 3.5-year-old child who may still be stacking blocks, who may still be experimenting with the sizes, where a 4-year-old might add mobiles or little cars to go with it. Then you take a 6-year-old who might be doing a whole theme on, being an astronaut and adding helmets and clothing, and so it takes it to a different level by just the age of the child.
Now we're at Sandra's school, and this was a very sophisticated activity because this child was really using the rulers. Sandra, can you tell us a little bit about what was going on?
Well, we were trying to construct a fountain, to set up on our screen so that we could play with the water fill the containers up and pour water in and see how the water comes out. And we needed to construct it. So I got the children together, and we had the schematic that we were following to see what size we need and what shape, what lengths we needed. And so they were comparing the lengths and with the rulers to determine which piece they needed next.
Okay, we got those.
This really was measuring.
Now we need to put them together. What happened to your ruler? A 4-inch?
It's very interesting how the little boy looks at the frame and looks at what he's done and looks at the paper and is looking at all the things and using all senses to make this work for him.
Right.
And if you can help us,
He was also looking, he could look, and at one point he could look and tell that there wasn't the size he needed, so he had a concept already. Because at one point he told me, it's a 2, I need a 6, So he could tell that one was longer than the other one without even measuring it.
Now, the other children were enjoying manipulating the materials.
Right.
What's the difference in age? How old is this child? How old are the others?
Eric is 5, and the other children are 4. Majority of them over there with him are 4. He'll be going to school in September, and those other children will be coming back.
So as Levita, as you were describing before, age and experience do make a difference.
Yes, they do.
That's our video on measurement. I'd like to make a comment about one of the things that we observed, and that was in the scene where the teachers were measuring the children on the chart, the wall chart, and she asked the children to predict who would be taller. And the children made a prediction, and then they checked it out, and then they came to a conclusion as to whether they were correct or not. And I think that was a very good way of helping children to understand what it is that they're working with.
By actually doing things is how they learn. And I think that's important because they have the opportunity to go over at any time and measure themselves, measure a friend, use a string if a teacher's not available, take yarn from the art table and bring it over and hold it up. These things are all very important for them.
You have observed children in their natural environment, engaging in activities on their own and with other children. You have seen these teachers encouraging children's efforts and asking open-ended questions which enhance thinking and reasoning skills. We have been focusing now on the concepts of space and measurement,